Okay, so you may have just seen the pictures, but yesterday I covered the tailplane and elevators and the fin and rudder. The colouring is discoloured tissue. Covered it in white first and then the colours over the top. That will glue on there and look very smart. The underneath is in linen shade. This is just water shrunk. It's still got to be doped and weighed down. So it's that there. I've also covered the fuselage. Again, just water shrunk. Now, I covered the bottom first, up to here. Made a slight boo-boo because the bottom should have been covered in linen, but what's done is done. And then I covered this bit in the middle. Then I covered the side all in one go, dry. I didn't damp it, using the glue stick solid onto the solid balsa just around the edges. And then I covered the back half up to the struts and then this bit in the middle. And it went quite nicely, I think. Just curling it around onto the nose. It's tucked away, of course, so nobody's any the wiser, like that. And I think it's paid off painting the inside green. I love it when it's the same colour. So the underneath of the aircraft is linen colour, and what I'm going to do, you cover the bottom first. So I'll just cut out a panel here. Don't cut it too tight. Give yourself some working. I'll make sure it's all the way along there. Give yourself some working area. That's going to go on there. Basically, I'm going to, using my glue stick, this is a standard glue stick, it's not a blue one. Blue ones are good because you can see how much and where you put it on easily. You can see still what you put on this to a degree. You can see it shining if you get it in the light. So I've spent quite a bit of time sanding the structure and getting it just nice, because anything that you don't get just nice now is going to show up like a sore thumb. So run your finger over everything, get it nice, sand the leading edge, top and bottom, sand the main spar, get everything nice. I should be opening this piece up after it's doped for the strut to slide up through. But yeah, I'm happy with that. It's nice, everything's just nice and smooth. This might seem a good time to ask you guys, if you're not subscribed, just hit that subscribe button. Much obliged. And if you are subscribed, then give the video a thumbs up. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to apply another good little tip, which I haven't done myself, but it's a good tip nevertheless. Have a little bowl of water, because if you get glue stick on your fingers, it gets things a bit messy. So just have a little finger bowl just to wipe in and dry your fingers. Would make life a lot easier. So I'm going to go around, and again, like I said, I can see what I put on because it's slightly shiny on the balsa wood. I've prepared the balsa wood no other way. I haven't put any sealer on it or anything, just tissue straight onto the balsa. Notice I'm supporting it as I put it on because you could break it, so make sure you support the structure as you go. Don't try and rush it. And the other thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to put it on the ribs because I want it to shrink. I want it to shrink equally. Now what you could do is lay it on, or you could lay it down and put it on. It doesn't really matter which way round you do it. I'll do it this way round to start. And by sort of pulling the tissue out, any wrinkles come out. Don't worry about it if it doesn't seem flat, like it's curling up ever so slightly, because that will come out when I dope it. Now, it's slightly wrinkly, so you want it, not wrinkly, it's slightly, you can see it's not 100% stuck to the structure, so you want to go over it. Again, I'm supported, the structure is supported. Oh, tell a lie, I do want to put on that, let's just pull that off. I do need to put it on this rib because I need to cut that open for the strut, so I want that to be stuck to the structure. Apart from that, no, so I'll just stick that bit down. The reason you don't want to stick it to the ribs is because you want the whole thing to shrink, but if it's stuck to each rib, then you've only got a small panel that can shrink, and if you've got a stubborn wrinkle in there, it won't come out because there's not much tissue there to shrink. The only exception to that would be, like I've just done, if there's a fitting to go up through, or if the wing is under cambered, in which case you've got to stick it to each rib. So I could put that on wet if I wanted to, but you've got to be careful doing that because sometimes it'll start shrinking before the glue is dry if you're not careful, so just be aware of that. So let's just make sure it's dust free. Put that on there. It's essential to have an almost new blade. This is an almost new blade. I'll just test it here to make sure. Yeah, it's cutting beautifully. You could cut with scissors or you could cut with a blade. I'm going to cut this so as it'll turn over that rib by the thickness of the trailing edge. I don't want it to come over anymore because the green's going to go over that way. And there's a nick in there. Now this one's slightly different. I'm going to cut this flush because there's another outer rib to go on this after the centre cabane, after it's glued to the cabane strut. So I'm actually going to cut this flush on this rib as there's more to stick on it. Okay, now I'm going to cut about 1/16 of an inch out, and then I can bring it up over the leading edge. I've got a video up on tissue covering. I think it was a Gwillows model. It's had tens of thousands of views. This is one thing that people really want to know about tissue covering, and it seems to be a bit of a mystery, a black art almost. There are lots of ways you can tissue cover a model. I could describe them now. I've done some of them myself, but this is by far the easiest way if you're new to it. Now, because of the curve here, I'm just going to put a dart, if you like, in this just to help it around the corners, otherwise you'll get a little wrinkle. Okay. Now I'm just going to run my glue stick. Again, support the wing on the rib, don't hold it on the tissue, although this tissue is quite strong. I'm just going to run the glue stick along there, around there. I'd sooner not put enough glue stick on and have to go back and add a little bit under the tissue using the blade and put too much on and have it squeezing out everywhere, because it is added weight all the time. So a little bit there. Okay, and we'll just curl that over. When the tissue is dry like this, sometimes it doesn't want to bend over, doesn't want to stick, probably because it's a combination of the fact it's dry and I don't want to put too much on. That being the case, you can go back and put it on where it needs to go. No rush doing it. It's a pleasant old job actually. When you turn an open structure into a closed structure, it looks like a wing then. And believe it or not, this actually adds quite a bit of strength to a structure as well. Okay, there's a little bit there that's not sticking down. I'll just go back over it because at this stage I'm not sure if it's lack of a little bit on there, lack of glue stick, or it's just springing off. I think it's just springing off. The thing you can do is just damp it, and that will make the tissue more porous to the glue. When I say damp it, of course I mean to lick your finger. Sometimes you want to put a little bit more on where you've got end grain, because it actually sort of soaks into the grain very slightly, but it can help it not sticking. There we go. Keep it moving. Don't stick your fingers to it. Okay, so that's the bottom covered. Not too bad for wrinkles. Make sure that bit's stuck down. Now I'm going to cover the top. Basically the same way, except because it's slightly more complicated, but the fact it's a curved structure, so I certainly won't be able to put it onto the tissue. I'm going to have to put the tissue onto the structure. So I should pop that to one side. And get the green. Here's the green. I want green in my kit. It came with brown, but I like green, so I'm doing mine green. There's a grain to tissue, okay, and to see which way the grain is running, you rip it. It'll rip one way better than the other. I would say the grain is running lengthwise, which is normal. Why does that matter? Well, your tissue will stretch when you dope it better one way than the other. I can't remember which is the best way. I think you put it lengthwise so that then the grain is running lengthwise. If you do it that way, it's going to pull tight between the ribs and sort of dip in more if the grain is more lengthwise. Imagine it was a piece of balsa. For maximum strength, you'd have the grain running lengthwise, which is why the spots. I think that could be the reason. Okay, so I'm going to cut this one out of there like that, so the grain is running lengthwise. So give myself plenty of work in. Like that. I'm going to put glue on this rib. Probably not down on the, no, probably not. So I've just glued around the perimeter of this, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the wingtip separately to the whole wing. And the reason I'm going to do that is because if you do the wingtip separately, you avoid the little wrinkles that you can get in the corner here, because you can't do it in all directions, but you can if you do it separately, because it's under a different. If it was still attached to this piece, it wouldn't go down like that just as easily. So there's a little extra there for you. Best way to trim that. Let me try cutting it with scissors. What I want ideally is, just do that. It's about 1/16 of an inch coming round. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put some dots in there like that, just to help that around the edge. One there, one there, one there, one there. Like that. Okay, and then I can trim it off either with the blade or the scissors. Let's see what works best. It is kind of easier with scissors. Trim off any little bits. Yes, this is going okay. Keep the little bits off your work area, they tend to stick where they aren't wanted. Can leave a little bit more under that edge there. Bring that around. If you've got a little area that you can't pull, right, I've got a tiny little area here that's ridden up a little bit, just pull it very gently with the, it pulls it back around, just grips it just enough. I'm hardly putting any pressure on it, but it's gripped it just enough to pull it around. Maybe slightly more. Okay, so the wingtip is covered separately. Don't have to do that, but it does avoid wrinkles in this area. So let's just go back to beginning and around there, along there, on there, down there, and then just partially down the trailing edge, and then across the top of that rib. Try not to get any glue on the tissue that you've already done, because it'll stop the dope from doing its job. And then down the leading edge. Again, try not to go actually onto the front of the leading edge. Oh, don't forget, I've got to cut that bit out, so I'll put glue on there. Yeah, if you put glue onto the top of the leading edge, the tissue, there's a good chance the tissue will stick to it here and spoil the look of it. Where are we? Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I can hear someone hammering. I don't know if you can on the video. Someone's busy. Not as busy as me though. Okay. Make sure that's stuck down. And see, I'm trying to stretch the tissue out. This bit here is going to be a little bit different. It might be the case that this inner one, if I show you again on the that we haven't covered, that might be a difficult area to pull in. I might end up doing that bit separately. We'll just see how it stretches out here. In fact, what I think I'll do to help it in there is just put a little cut there, and cut like that. Just see if that goes in. Dope's a marvellous stuff. It will do some good stuff, but it's not a miracle worker. I think that will be okay. I think that will pull in okay. Right, so let's just make sure it's stuck down there nicely. And the leading edge. Honestly, in fact, while it's there, let's just cut that off. I'm going to cut it just a 1/16 of an inch past, just so it just goes around the leading edge and no more. And I think I might have made a boo-boo here, guys. I don't know if you can see the difference in the tissue. One side of the tissue's shinier than the other, and I got it back to front. And if I was a perfectionist, I'd rip that off and do it again. But being the middle wing, I don't think you're going to see it, so I'm going to leave it as it is. Nobody will know. Just something to be aware of. Never stop learning, do you? Never stop, Cliff. Nope. Never stop botching. Right. Let's just cut that off there. Right. Like that. Run some glue stick down there. I want to get it, if I can, if I get it on the tissue a bit as well as the bolster, that's great. Make sure you curl it around, don't just go down it because it might run off sideways unless you do that to guarantee it goes on the edge. And we'll just, what scrapes off, and what doesn't is already stuck. Again, make sure you got a sharp blade. Hold the blade down at a very shallow angle and it won't snag the tissue if it's not absolutely sharp. There we go. Come on. Just go down like that. From this bit flush, as it's got to be glued on. If you've got any glue on your blade, just pull it off, you don't want that there. top of the main spar. Like that. Okay. I'm just looking around just to make sure the edges are stuck and there's nothing untoward going on. Alright, and that, guys, is how you cover a wing. I'm going to cover the rest and I'll be back when I have done all of the others. The only thing to note is the centre wing, because it's one panel already. I'll have to cover the centre panel, then I'll do the wingtips, then I'll do the main part, but first I do the underneath. This would seem like a good moment to ask you guys, if you're not subscribed, just hit that subscribe button, and it helps with the algorithm, helps to share the video, and also means that you'll get to see the maiden flight when I do it. And if you are subscribed, give the video a thumbs up. That also helps the algorithm and helps to spread it. A quick update here then, guys. So I've finished covering the wing panels. I've sprayed them with water and weighed them down using my usual technique of weighing them down using the sockets. Couldn't think what they're called then. And yeah, so the water's tightening them out quite nicely, and then I'll give them a coat of 50-50. Well, maybe I might not dope them actually. I might spray them with clear matte lacquer, seeing how they've tightened out so well. So you'll notice I put them on the strips of wood just to take the underneath off of the plan in this case, because I don't want the tissue to stick to it and I want the air to get in under it, and it does work very well. They dry out really nice. Here's one I did earlier, and that'll come out quite nice. That's a centre wing, although there's a couple of wrinkles there, but I think they'll come out. Okay, there we are. It's looking good, quite pleasing. I shall start spraying them up tomorrow, and then once they're all sprayed and tightened, then I can start the assembly. Right guys, here we go. What I plan to do now is to, that's tightened down nice, is to, I need a little bit of glue under there, miss some, is to spray all the underneaths, pin them down, or spray the underneaths and then the tops, and then weigh them back down again. Once I've got one coat on, then I can put the decals on, and then I'll put a second coat on just to seal the decals. Let's have a look. I'll leave that a minute to dry. Do the fuselage, shall we? I'm using matte lacquer, and this is from eBay, just called Autotech, but I find it works really well. Drying pretty quick there, was really light, so which is what you want. But because these sticks are covered in sellotape, they don't stick to anything, which is great. I'm going to carry on spraying these, and I'll come back to you when it's all set up, because there's nothing to see. Okay, that's the first lot done. The lacquer doesn't take very long to dry. It's only been like 2 minutes, maybe 5 for the fuselage. It's already dry and tight. So that's come out beautiful. I'm going to apply the stickers. Well, they're not stickers actually, I've got to cut them out of paper. This isn't the actual sticker sheet, but it's very similar. Cut them out and stick them in position. Then I'll probably stick them on with the roundels, the top roundels. May not go on too well if I use glue stick, because it doesn't soak in. Might put those on with watered down PVA to get the paper to be a little bit more flexible. Really lovely and tight. And then a second very light coat, we'll have that sorted out. The wings are coming up nicely. I'll carry on with this, guys, and I'll see you back for assembly, or the decals. Maybe the decals first, certainly on the top wing. I can put it down on the bench. Yeah, probably put the decals on next actually.